Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Anointed Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Terry Linscott. Once again, so grateful. And man, what is 2024 looking like for you? We are in the middle of a fast, almost done. We start a revival service in a few weeks, or a few days, I'm sorry, and it's going to be an amazing time. The power of God is going to be present at Abundant Life Church on the 28th through the 31st of January of 2024. I encourage you to be there if you can get there. Amen. Hey, I'm going to go back into that second session of 2023 Leadership Conference called Ownership Mindset. And I want to talk about this, three things that I believe happens when people get an ownership mindset. Number one is an ownership mindset will enhance teamwork. It will also create a greater sense of responsibility and accountability, and it will increase motivation and engagement. And I want to break these down for you in today's session, and I believe you're going to be blessed today. But before we jump in, I want to ask you to do a couple of things like I always do. Number one, if you've never subscribed to the channel, please do so. Hit that subscribe button, hit the reminder button, whatever platform you're on. We drop one of these every other Thursday is our goal. And we're pretty consistent in that. And we want to be a blessing to you and add value to your leadership and help you grow. Whether you're a pastor of a church, a leader of a ministry, organizational leader, a corporate leader, or business owner, whatever that is, whatever we can do to help you, that's what this content's designed for. Second of all, if you've never shared this with anybody, please do that. Just hit the share button, send it to your social media, send a text message, an email to anybody that you believe this content will add value and help them in their leadership. And lastly, you can go to my website. I would love to hear from you, terrylinscott.com. There's a place to email me there. There's questions you can ask. There's invites that you may want me to come in and speak to your team, whether large or small, it doesn't matter. And I would love to be a part of that, but I'd love to hear how this is adding value to your life. And I pray that as you dive into today's session, that you will understand the necessity, the desire, the purpose of having an ownership mindset in your team. And I believe that as you develop that ownership mindset, your team is going to flourish and your business, your organization will grow greatly in increasing in numbers in every area. Join this, and I'll be right back after that. Three things that I want you to understand. There is a fear of this that I want to just deal with right now. Number one, what if it doesn't work? That's good. That's good, Terry. That's real good to have ownership in your organization. But what if that don't work? It probably won't in the beginning. That hush, like, oh, that's not real reassuring. It will be very frustrating. It will create a lot of effort for you. It will take a lot of your time. But the question is, what if it don't work? It doesn't work unless you work it. It'll never work unless you put effort to it. It'll never work unless you give time to it. Unless you take an employee and you want to develop them to a level of ownership in their mindset to go beyond the paycheck, to branch out into greater realms of their own life, their own abilities, as well as push your company. If you don't put time, effort, and money into it, it won't work. What if it doesn't? What if it does? What if it does for you? What if it takes you from $1 million of net income in 1 year to $4 million the next? What if it takes your company from a Fortune 500 company down to a Fortune 100 company? See, some of you I just lost you. I don't ever think that's going to happen. You'll never go there unless you have people around you that own what you own. Believe in what you believe in. Most people are struggling with even talking about their vision, talking about their purpose, talking about what God's doing in their life, what God wants you to do. If you have a hard time talking about it, do you think anybody else is going to talk about it? I'll just use this as an example. Abundant Life. We've been preaching, Pastor Jimmy and Marty preach for 30 some years, and I've been preaching it from this pulpit almost every service. What are our pillars? What are we doing? We are going to Africa. And I went to Nigeria. We went to 2 countries in Africa, but we're an African global missions ministry. Some of you, well, you've only been there twice. You don't get it. You don't see it. I see it. I believe it. I got a Bible college. We're having a Bible college. We started a Bible college, and we haven't even launched it yet. If I don't believe it, nobody else is going to believe it. If I don't talk about it, nobody else is going to talk about it. What if it don't work? It only don't work, use the grammar, good thing for somebody else fixing your books. It only don't work if you don't work. You you have to put effort into it. If you're unhappy where you are as a business owner, you have to put effort and time and money and energy to develop somebody else, because you can only go as far as you can handle. You can't go any further than what you can handle. You have to put it into other people. It means ownership. What if it don't work? That's a fear. It's a great question. It will work. It may not work all the time, but I promise you it works. I could list people in our own church that are volunteer that actually own this stuff. And they're doing it, which is why our church is growing the way it's growing. It's not growing because I'm a great preacher. Most people don't even know me. They know the people. They know that it's growing because people are finding purpose here. People are finding ownership. They believe in me. I get the right to do it. It's happening. You do the same thing in your organization. Well, I've only got one person. Make them a co-owner, not on paper, in their heart. What if it don't work? Second thing, what if I lose everything? That's a great question. If I'm giving them that much information and I'm giving that much authority, what if I lose everything? What you're not giving them is your login and password to your bank account. And definitely not giving them the power of attorney over your assets. You're just not doing that. The mindset isn't about they get permission to sink the ship. What they have permission to do is push out a little bit deeper to catch bigger fish. You don't keep them on the bank thinking that you're going to catch the largest fish. You're going to go out and troll. You give them a little bit of authority to go deeper. What if I lose everything? What if you double everything? What if you are the hindrance to your future? I've seen this in if I just use the ministry as a whole, as pastors, for 30 some years I've been in the ministry, and I've seen pastors trying to hold on to everything. And their ministry stay very small, but their vision is massive. I'm just being honest with you. It stays so small, and they're frustrated why it's not going any further. And the reason is because they're afraid of losing everything. If they would release it to the people, they would gain everything that's in their heart. But if you hold on to it because you're afraid of losing it, then you can only do what you can touch. But if you let go of it, they can do more than you can even think, ask, or imagine. This is what if I lose everything? It's a great question. And there is an opportunity to lose something, but not everything. You might lose people. You might have a different employee. You might develop somebody so much that they create their own business. The mind says, well, what if they start their own business? You know what I would say? Great partnership then. Because they will remember the hand that fed them. It's networking. So if you shift the mindset, what if I lose everything? What about this one? I won't have control. This is the fear of ownership. I won't have control. Well, you can't have control and leadership at the same time. I won't have control. I don't want control. You know what irritates Terry the most? When somebody comes and asks me for an answer. It really irritates me the most. Like, I don't mind having a conversation. I don't mind you come and approach me. Like, if you're on my team, like on my staff, or you work for me or whatever that is, I don't mind you asking me the question. But don't ask me the question and not give me an option to fix it, because that means I have to control the outcome of that thing. And that irritates me more than anything, because I've learned one thing: you can have control or you can have growth, but you can't have both. You can have control or you can have growth, but you cannot have both, because you'll only grow to the ability of your control. And that's why most churches, if I could just use churches, but I could even say businesses, stay at mom and pop, because the mom and pop are doing all of the work all the time. They're not moving on to the working on the business, on strategies, on policies, and giving people the opportunity to work in the operations. They're controlling it too. I'll lose control. Yes, you will. But you have complete control of the vision. Just don't control the operation of it. How do I move to that? What does that look like? What does this look like? There's the three things I want to tell you today that ownership mindset in your companies look like. Number one, when you have an ownership mindset, it will enhance teamwork. It requires teamwork. I just had a meeting with our staff. We do a staff meeting every 2 weeks. And one of the things I've always talked to our staff about this is that, listen, we got to help people pick up the ball. If somebody fumbles the ball in football, what does the rest of the team do? We don't sit there and say, why did you fumble the ball? They all jump on the ball to try and get the ball, to keep possession of it. The fumble's not the problem. The fumble and nobody going after the ball, that's the problem, right? And so what happens is you take this mindset that, okay, if you fumbled it, somebody else has to jump on it. Let's keep possession of the ball. Let's not turn over possession. Well, it enhances the teamwork because what it should do is generate accountability with one another, that we're all protecting the same thing. It's teamwork. We're pushing in the same direction. If you just took football right now, the linemen don't get as much money, and they definitely don't get as much credit as the running back, the quarterback, or the receiver. But if the linemen don't do their job and own the play and own the football, and may never touch the football, may never touch the end zone with the football, they may never do anything but just block. They never get credit as much as they should to hold the line, as much as they get credit when somebody breaks through and gets a sack. Understand that the ownership, when we own the play, and they run the play with the lineman just as much as they do with the quarterback. And everybody's understanding this thing. Ownership enhances teamwork. We're doing it because we're trying to get the ball down the field into the end zone, right? And so it creates this owner that lineman knows he may not get as much money, he may not get as much credit, but he is comfortable in his role. He's comfortable in his position. He's excited to be on the team because if they win, they all get the ring. The ownership creates and enhances teamwork. You will find accountability increasing when you have ownership, not through me, but through each other. See, it's like this. I had to tell my staff when I had them drop that out, don't pick up the paper, because they would all went after each other. Why did I have to pick up for you? Why did I have to do this? I thought you were supposed to do this. And they would have done it, but they in the back room, they'd have had some conversation. It's called teamwork and communication. Let's move on. The second thing, it says ownership mindset will create a greater sense of responsibility. It's holding each other accountable. This is what ownership mindset, it's a greater sense of, we're all responsible. We're all moving in the same direction. This is what ownership looks like, is we have accountability with each other. It's teamwork, it's responsibility, it's accountability, it's holding each other accountable. And what happened was in my team, I'll show you this, we're working through the whole thing about ownership, is this. I told the team, if somebody is dropping the ball, pick it up. But then what was happening is people were dropping the ball knowing somebody else would pick it up. So this is a balance you got to figure out. It's not everybody reads between the lines. It's a process. So I said, if you drop the ball, somebody else pick it up. Well, then people were dropping it, and then the same people keep picking it up. So I went back to the staff and I said, hey, guess what? Now it's time to tell everybody, no, I'm not doing it for you. Because you ain't figuring out the balance of when I can drop it unintentionally and when I'm intentionally dropping because I don't want to do it. So if I'm now telling you, no, I'm not helping you, I'm not doing it for you. I was talking to somebody last night. It was one of my sons about some things that they're going through. And I said, if you don't hold them accountable, then you're always going to be working late. And if you don't figure it out, you're always going to be frustrated. So now it's time. I'm glad I got to do this, but I'm not doing it for you no more. You're going to now be held accountable because I'm not just going to go run and tell the boss. We're in this together. So there is this level of teamwork. Hey, we got it together. There's this level of responsibility, but then there's the level of, no, I'm not doing it for you. You stay late and do it. You should have done that. You should have thought about that. And it isn't coming to Terry. As the leader of the team, they're not coming to Terry. They're doing it now between themselves. This is what ownership looks like. If it was just employees, they'd show up at my door and say, hey, you need to get over to Elijah. He just didn't do his job. I don't know why he didn't do his job. If it was a manager, he would rip them and then come and make sure I knew about it. But with ownership mindset, it's accountability, responsibility, and teamwork coming together, and the boss don't even have to know about it. Because we are holding each other accountable, not because I'm afraid of the boss, but I believe in where we're going. I believe we all need to go this way. That's what ownership mindset is. Not just showing up to get a paycheck. And the third thing I wrote down here is this: an ownership mindset, it will increase motivation and engagement. What ownership does, it increases motivation and engagement. It's not the clock in, clock out mindset. It's I'll take work home with me. I will make sure things get done. I will plan to make sure things get done. Ownership will enhance motivation and engagement is what ownership does. I'm engaging somebody else. I'm making a phone call. I'm finding things out for you. I'm not just telling you here, I need all these answers. I'm actually getting them and presenting them to you. That's enhancing and engaging into each other. We're doing this together. We're motivated to get it done. We're showing up early when we need to show up early. We're staying late when we need to stay up late, right? What happens when you don't have an owner mindset? It's 9 to 5, baby. 40 hours a week, no more. I'm done. I'm checked out. You see it. I see it. We all know it. And you see, when I was young, it was like, I'm waiting, clock out, I'm out. I'm not here. I learned this one thing when Pastor Jimmy, for 9 months, I'll just tell you the story before I end this one, is 1998 through 1999. It was 9 months I worked here for free. I got zero money. The church was in a financial crisis issue. We were doing everything wrong, and we didn't have no money. And so he laid everybody off. I went to prayer. I'm a man of prayer. I hear the voice of God. I live by God. And the Lord told me, you're not allowed to go get another job, say at the church. Well, at that time, my wife got $400 or something like that dollars in Social Security income or whatever for handicap. My house payment was $400. Wasn't much money. Where was I going to get my food? Where was I going to pay my utilities? I got 2 kids and 1 in the oven. Like, that's exactly the way it was. And Lord, you want me to do what? So I said, okay. I went to Pastor Jimmy. I said, well, the Lord told me to stay here, so I'm going to stay here. So I stayed here. Day 1, you know what I did? I showed up late. I said this, well, you're not paying me, so I'll just come in whenever I get up and get ready and have coffee with my wife, and you're not paying me. I'm just here to help you. I walked in the door. I was getting coffee over there, like you always do. You know, the first thing you do, you come in, get coffee. Father-in-law walked into the break room and said, you can go home. I said, no, the Lord told me this. He says, if you don't show up on time like you work here, then you go home. I ain't got time for you. You go find another job. You're not going to be late. I didn't ask you to stay here. God told you to stay here. And if you don't do it God's way, I'm not allowing you to be here. I'm going to steward the things of God for you. And if you can't show up on time, you can go somewhere else. Now, wait a minute. How do you tell a guy you're not even paying? That's my father-in-law. But what he taught me is this one thing. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it with the right heart, and I'm going to own this. For 9 months, I went without a paycheck. We lived. God blessed us. God took care of us. They paid our bills. Not they, God through they. There was days we had 9 bags of groceries on our doorstep when I had no food in the house. I got 2 kids. I got a baby coming in May. My wife is wondering what we're going to do. I get this stuff. But he developed ownership. You can take a person that is working for you and you're paying them great money, decent money, if you will give them permission to flourish and hold them to ownership and not just employee tax, they will give you their whole life. You're looking not for people to do a job. You're looking for people to grow everything about you. But you have to turn around and grow them first. If you don't grow the people around you, you will never grow. And that comes from levels of ownership. Hey, everybody, I hope you are blessed today. I really, really do. I want to highlight the number one point that I put out there. It's called an ownership mindset will enhance teamwork. I can tell you from experience that in my ministry, in my team, I've got 10 people on staff right now that work diligently. I have a ton of volunteer staff. And I can tell you when you have ownership, everybody's fighting for their area. What is their department? And I love that because that's ownership. If you're not fighting for it, if you're not like making it the priority in the ministry, man, I'm not sure if ownership is there. I will tell you this, the balance of that is the tough thing to balance because everybody's idea or everybody's responsibility is priority to them. But when we can work it together, man, this is where unity comes. And when you take everybody recognizing that it's my part with your part and with their part all coupled together is what brings success and growth. That's what I'm asking you to do in this ownership mindset. This is what you have to look at. I know what it's like to manage 9 or 10 different attitudes, 10 different characteristics and personalities, job titles, and different ways they function. But I'm seeing it happen here at Abundant Life Church because everybody around me is owning their responsibility. They're also owning the whole ministry. They're looking at each other. They're holding each other accountable. And when you have that in your team, woo, man, the sky's the limit, as they say, right? And I'm watching Abundant Life Church because of this mindset getting into my people, into my team. It's causing Abundant Life to flourish and thrive. And we're reaching the stars, if you will. We're doing things that we never thought possible. And it's because everybody on my team has ownership. They're owning the whole ministry, not just their part. I want to challenge you. As you help develop your team with an ownership mindset, I pray the same level of increase that I'm experiencing through this, you'll experience. Until next time, I call you blessed today, and I pray that the anointing of God get all over you to help you accomplish everything God has called you to do in Jesus' name.